Hello everybody, Chaz Large here with another Fix It video for you, and on the bench today we have got this Panasonic beastie. It's a model, let's see, and we've got the model on the front. I thought we would have had. Oh, here we are, a portable stereo CD system RX-DS303. So that's quite a big old beastie. It weighs quite a lot. So it's actually quite a hefty beastie. It's got a CD player in the top. It's quite unclean, should we say. So it needs a good clean up. It's got a AM/FM radio, and it's got a auto reverse tape deck, and the tape deck is the cause of the problem today. If we put a tape into it, I can show you what the problem is. We put a tape in and we press play. It just goes ka-dunk, ka-dunk, ka-dunk. The tapes do spin slightly, as though they're going backwards. Oh, hang on, it started to work this time. So obviously, and it's working. But the take-up spool, when it's going in that direction, stops turning. So I suspect we've got drive belt issues and that sort of thing. Earlier on, it was just doing ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk all the time. It wasn't doing anything at all. But obviously, since it's been sat here while I've been getting prepared for the video, it started to work properly. So I think the first thing we need to do is to have a good old look inside and see if there's any sort of like drive belts which are on their way out. But it's probably, like I said, it needs a clean, and certainly inside. If we have a little look inside the deck itself, let's see if we can go to our little roving camera. Where are we, roving camera? Here he is, down here. Is currently pointing at my meter. If we have a little look inside here, not particularly great at focus, this roving camera, from short distance, but actually what you can see just about is some brown lines on the capstan on that side and some brown lines on there. I can't adjust the focus on this camera, it just doesn't have a focus control, but it's okay for a distance. And the head itself is also dirty, and there's lots of dirt inside it as well. It's going to be a cleaning job, hopefully. So cleaning up the deck will probably restore full operation. I did briefly, when I first got it on, there was a customer's disc in the CD, and that played, and the radio worked as well. So hopefully a bit of a clean-up job, clean up on the deck, and fingers crossed everything should be okay. So I think the first thing we need to do is literally take the back off. Unplug the mains power. It's actually got a model on here which is the same as it says there, RX-DS303, and on the back here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws in there, and there may well be one, although I can't see any in the, oh yes there is, 1, 2 in the battery compartment. So I'll probably whiz through this bit. Right, there's 2 screws that appear to hold this CD mechanism onto the top here. Right, having got all that out, there are 2 screws going vertically down on the CD mechanism, but as I've released that top bit there, I'm not sure that they need to come out. Did remove that screw, didn't I? Yeah, there's nothing in there. Okay, it's coming. It's the front's coming away from the back. So maybe we have to undo those screws as well. Well, we didn't need to undo those. So coming out of the front, we've got the speakers and what appears to be the tuner. Yeah, the radio section, which probably should stay in there. So we just got the speakers on the front. That's useful, and they're on a plug. Let's get me a plug puller. Pull that plug out there. Not too worried about having the speakers connected at the minute. It's the mechanism we want to get at. So we can see in here that we've got quite a nice looking tape deck. We can just give it a clean. It shouldn't be too difficult. And everything else actually inside looks nice and clean. We've got power supply, transformer, and tuner circuit here, and CD. There's a separate section at the top there. So I see, that's the reason why those screws were there, just to remove this top part here, which we can use for cleaning purposes anyway. We might as well give the optics a bit of a clean as well while we're at it. A lot of dust on the inside. So let's see if we can sort out this tape deck. Let's plug the power back in. That's my test tone tape. Let's use this one, which has just got music on. We should be able to play this back. Okay, so we've got a tape in there. So tape. So yeah, so it's starting and then stopping. That's the problem. So let me just get the overhead camera on it so you can see that in a bit more detail. Okay, I've adjusted the overhead camera so we can see a bit more on the actual tape deck. So if I press play, you can see it's just it's as though it's sensing that the tape isn't moving or something like that. Now we've got probably opto couplers or some sort of couplers in here, which I use to determine tape movement. So let's see if we can get it so that it thinks there's a tape in there when there isn't. So let's see, what does it need to have a tape input? So that's record. So it's probably just going to be that one, that switch there. It's not going to be both of those, I wouldn't have thought. Okay, it's going to be a bit difficult to try and replicate that. Oh, I think we're okay with certainly seemed to be this pair of switches here, which was you can see on a display as we put the tape in, the display is showing that we're actually inserting a tape. It comes up there when we got the tape in. Right. I've got a feeling it's now working correctly. I've had a problem similar to this before, where it's actually these switches on here which are actually the cause of the problem. It sees you're putting a tape in, then when you press play, the vibration of the mechanism doing its work makes that connection break. So I think the problem is these switches. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is take the tape deck out, just double check the drive belts, and also give it a bit of a clean while I've got it out. It's a little bit awkward doing it on there, so if I turn the camera back over so you can see the right way around, it's going to be a lot easier to do that way. Okay, I've removed the 4 screws out of the 4 corners of the tape deck and lifted it up, and it comes, it's quite easy to get out, but we can see now a lot more clearly these switches on the top. They're basically just little leaf switches, and I have definitely had in the past where these leaf switches are dirty. I'm not sure whether we can get in close enough to see. We can certainly see it on this one at this end. We get the light in the right place. You can see basically as that lever is pressed up, the 2 little copper connections connect. So what I need to do is to be able to get in there and clean all those switches. Sometimes you can just spray degreaser cleaner spray in there. Sometimes you have to actually take this little plastic cover off, and it makes life a lot easier. In fact, actually there's quite a bit of a gap just here, but we could actually spray some cleaner in those connections. So I think I might give that a try first above everything. Okay, I think before I do that though, I'll just put some absorbent cloth, just so that the spray, if it goes anywhere, it doesn't go onto the plastics of the mechanism. And this one here, I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly on this sort of thing, is the main system switch, which we can just rub a screwdriver in there just to clean up the terminals. But the cleaning, the service hole that I use usually gets in there and does the job quite well. So whilst that's doing its work, I'm going to get a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and turn that back over there like so, and just clean up, which you should be able to see quite clearly now. We've got tape residue on both capstans and on the head. So you might be able to just rest that in a position that will make it easier for you to see. Okay, so a little bit of isopropyl on a cleaning swab. There it is, just nicely clean. There it is, that stuff that's coming off. That's the tape oxide from many hours of playing cassette tapes. Drop more. In fact, actually, I think we'll get another fresh cleaning swab, because that one's had it. Have we go at this one? Yeah, look at that. Whoa. a fresh clean one. We'll just put a little drop of alcohol and go over the heads. Let's come off that as well. We'll just do a quick rub over the pinch roller. Just a little bit of alcohol. Just to shine that up a little bit. We use another dry swab to just remove the excess. Yep. So if nothing else, that should help with playback. Let's put the tape back in. Pop a tape in. Recognise it. Okay, so we've definitely still got a take up spool problem on that side, but at least it went into playback that way. Yeah, we've definitely got a problem with the take up spool on this side. So now I've got the buttons, the switches are working. I think that was pretty much the case. By holding these two on, we can now make it work manually. And you see the take up spool is sort of half turning, and actually I think I can see what the problem is. Now this is something that's not going to be easy to fix. Let me just get right in here and do a little focus. Can you see what I see? Just there. We got a broken tooth on that cogwheel. There it is. So it goes around. In fact, actually we've got several broken teeth. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 broken off there. So, could we get spare parts for this deck? So all I've got to do now is try and find another old Panasonic mechanism like this. Maybe one breaking for spares on eBay or something like that. Hopefully I'll be able to get that. Let's see what we can do. Right, well, we're back with this Panasonic portable stereo radio cassette, and it's been a little while since the last part of this video. Couldn't find a replacement deck or mechanism on eBay, but I did find a manual and found the part number for the little cogwheel, which is in here. And lo and behold, I managed to find a supplier of these cogwheels. And in the post today we got the replacement cogwheel, which has come through from Poland, from a supplier who either has a stock of these or has remade them in some way. I'm hoping it's going to be the right one. I've taken it out and looked at it, put it back in there for safekeeping. So what I've got to do to replace this cogwheel is to remove the moving slide mechanism, because the cogwheel sits behind that. So that's held in place by a spring which moves it up and down, and also the 2 pinch rollers. So it shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully, to remove that. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just move this spring out of the way like that. We can just rest it there because it doesn't need to move. And then we've got the capstans, sorry, the pinch rollers, which are on this slider, and there's a little catch here on the left hand, on the side of them, which if I move that gently to one side, the pinch roller comes up. Same for this side. All looking good so far. Now this whole mechanism is on a slide, and it's got positions of bits of plastic here and here which are keeping it in place, as well as that one there. So the whole mechanism needs to come back further than this is allowing. So I'm guessing there's going to be part of the mechanism perhaps under here which is preventing that movement. And whether I've got to put it into a particular position to make it come back or what, I'm not too sure. There's also that bit there is stopping it. I don't particularly want to remove the heads, but it looks like these bits of plastic here are binding or stopping on there, just there. So I think if I remove the head mechanism, that will come up and that should allow it to drop back. So let's give that a try, shall we? So I'll just move the camera down a little bit at an angle, that way you can still see what's going on, and I can get my screwdriver on it. There's one tiddly screw. And so hopefully that mechanism will come off. Oh look, we have a bug. A little bug trapped in the mechanism. Oh, he's now dropped in there. Looks like a wood louse, I think. We'll get rid of him. Now, will that mechanism come back further as hoped? Right, no, there's a lever here, which is the record lever. Let's move that out of the way. And still that's not coming back. So something else is stopping it. Wonder if it's that. So let's move this spring off of here. Can't move it off of there, so we'll have to move it off of here. And voila! Now, anything under there is going to ping off. I don't think so. Right, so that's useful. So there's our little cogwheel. Not clipped in place, but you can see where the teeth are definitely broken off. Let's get our new one and let's do a side-by-side comparison. Well, it looks the same size. The teeth are a little bit thicker. The length looks the same, so let's pop it on there and see if it will do the job. I think it will. I think it will. Okay. Let's pop this plate back on. There seems to be a fair amount of lubrication on everything, so I'm not going to add anything new on there. Record prevention lever is there. And that mechanism seems to be back in place. Refit that spring. head while we've got it apart, because I did clean it earlier on. So yeah, it still looks nice and clean. Now then, there's a little lever here which obviously does the flipping of the head, and here is a little lever with 2 springs, and I'm guessing that has to go in there. I didn't actually look to see. I should have done, I suppose. So let's get that little lever to go in between those 2 springs, which it seems to do. And that is sitting there quite nice and firm. Two screws on there. I'll tighten them down. Now they've got Loctite on them. You can probably see this little blue splodge either side. There's a little bit of blob of Loctite. I haven't got Loctite. I usually use nail varnish to do the job, but I'm not going to do that just at the moment, because I want to make sure that it all is working. So now our next bit is to get this other spring back over here into there. That seems to be okay. I think we're done. I think we've managed to get that into place. Right, let's get a power cord into it and see if it's working. Right, we have a power cord in, and I've reconnected the speakers. So let's just take a test tape and pop it in there. Oh, hang on, we haven't put the pinch rollers back on. Oh, silly me. Right, let's pop those on. Won't do a lot of playing without those pinch rollers on, will it? Tape in, take playback. Wow, look at that, it's working. I'm pretty sure we fixed it. Let's go fast forward, which is that one. Stop, rewind, which is that one. Yay, brilliant stuff. Well, I'm well happy with that. All we've got to do now is put it back together. Let's reassemble it and test it thoroughly. Right, so before I box it all up, I just want to make sure it's working at the right speed. So I've got into this my test tape, which has got a 3 kHz test tone on one side and 1 kHz on the other. I've hooked up my oscilloscope and combined frequency counter to this, so when we press play, hopefully we should see a 3 kHz tone appear. There we go, and it's measuring 3.078 kHz, which is absolutely fine. Now on the other side of the tape I've got a 1 kHz tone, so let's just play this one, and there we have 1 kHz tone, looking good. So I'm well pleased with that. Pretty sure that it's now working at the right speed as well, and everything is ready to be boxed up for final testing. Okay, so I'm going to do the final boxing up. Now, one little thing that a lot of people don't do when they're putting things back together is they dress the cabling correctly. Let me just pull the mains plug out for a second so it doesn't keep wobbling about. and they just sort of stuff things back and then suddenly realise that they've put it all back together and the wires are trapped. If you have a look at where the wires come from, obviously before you take something apart, it's very easy to see where they go, but quite often you can pull things apart and not really notice. But if you look on this particular Panasonic, this front chassis, and it's very similar on a lot of the Japanese equipment, there's little notches in the plastic housing, and that's for the wires to be dressed into like that. So the speaker goes in there, then you have another one across there, and then you have another one at the back of that wire there, at the back of that plastic there, and yet another one in here, and that essentially keeps the wires out of the way of the mechanism, so when you put it back together it doesn't get caught into the mechanism. And there's another little one there that holds that wire, so that should now allow us to drop that chassis front back in place. So let's just get the screws back into it and give it a final test. Power in. Eject. Test tape. Take player back okay. In that direction. Take playback in the other direction. Yep. Stop. Eject. Comes out. No problem. Test tape. Now we've got a test tape that we can use to do a test recording on. So let's put a CD in. We need to test the CD as well. Well, it definitely did work. There we are. Probably a scratch on that first track. So let's try doing a record. So you see the tape counter. Yep. Do another recording. Stop there. The tape stopped automatically. Let's rewind a bit and play. There we are. Perfect. So records, plays back, plays CDs, and the other function was of course radio. Tuner, long wave, medium wave, FM. FM doesn't work all that well in here, but let's see if we go 89.5, should be radio 2.
Remind me his new track. Dolly Parton, 9 to 5 on radio 2, and then...
There we are. Good, so we're done. It all works on everything. So there we are. One repaired a Panasonic digital mash CD player radio cassette recorder RX-DS303. Very happy with this repair. Thanks very much for watching. Cheerio for now.